Oh, here we go. This is not the smartest guys in the room. I see Tom. I see Coach. What's going on? How you doing today, Tom?
Good, man. Good. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. I'm fired up. I am fired up. Oh, here we go, man.
Nope.
We love to. I have to start this off. We always talk about selling with value, leading with dignity, giving
No, no,
value first.
no. Selling with dignity, leading with value.
Selling with dignity. Our friend Harry Spate wrote the book on selling with dignity, and you basically wrote the book on leading with value. So
And
here we go.
Coach Lucas, you can get out of here if you're going to spam our
Yeah,
comments with your
block them.
scams.
Okay,
So goodbye.
Block. Okay, man, remove. Okay, yeah. So here's what Tom's saying, and I'm saying, like, we try to give first, lead with value. Come on. So here, somebody we've never met before jumps in a room, tries to sell us something, we're going to have a conversation today. We're going to talk about, are you copying or are you inspired? And instead, somebody jumps in our room, jumps in the spam and starts trying to sell us some get rich nonsense. It's nonsense, right, Tom?
Yeah, and I think even worse, like I don't think he's not trying to sell us something. That's what's like worse is it's a scam, right? It's a ripoff. It's not even, it's like a phishing scheme. It's, hey, it's a too good to be true promise. It's, hey, if you like, basically it's DM me, if you give me like $50, I'll help you make 4,000 or something like it. I think that's what it was. It was something like that. It was like $50 investment, $4,000 return. And it's like, no, it's not. You're just going to lose $50. And then he's going to move on to the next person and convince them to give him $50 and move on to the next person. It's a scam. It's complete BS. Like, and I got no tolerance for it. I would rather deal with like a sleazy salesperson because at least they're trying to like sell you something. Like that guy is just flat out trying to rip you off.
Yeah. Maybe the sleazy salesman might have something good at the end of the day. And like, oh, this guy was a jerk, but I got a nice car.
Yeah, right.
Like, suit really fits me good. I wasn't planning to buy a suit today or a new tux, but man, I look sharp.
Right. Or maybe they upsell you on something you don't really need, right? Like you're looking at it like I mean, car salesmen get a really bad rap, right? But like, you know, you're looking at a car and maybe the guy convinces you to spend a little extra money to get to get the ceramic coating on the paint, right? And it's like, do you really need it? Is it really going to make a big difference? I don't know, but like he convinces you to spend a little bit extra money to get it, right? And so maybe your car's a little bit shinier than it would have been otherwise, right? Is it worth it? Meh, debatable, right? But at least you got something for it. He's not like, give me $800 or whatever it costs, right? For the ceramic coating, give me $800, but like doesn't put ceramic coating on your car, right? Like that's what that guy's essentially doing. It's the equivalent of saying, give me $800, I'm going to give you X, and then he just dips and you never see him again, right? And you can't find him because he changes, he uses a screen name for like a couple of days or a week or whatever, and he just generates a new one, cancels that account and moves on, right? But Coach Lucas or whatever his name was a scam, trying to run it around, trying to rip people off, just jumping from room to room. I think he came back to our room by accident.
He probably realized, oh, I already put that message in where I want $50 if somebody contacts me.
So yeah. Send me $50. I'll get you 4,000. Like, no, you won't. No, you won't. You're lying.
We should Brian's here too. We should tip in 15, 17, 33 each and see and invest in him and see what happens next time this guy comes into the room.
No, absolutely. I mean, we could tell him that, but I would recommend against giving him $1. I would turn around and be like, hey, give me $50 and I will give you 10 million.
Yeah, why stop at 4,000? All right, let's move on here. We got sidebarred by somebody he's been here a couple times, just somebody that jumps in the room and tries to like pitch these weird whatever scam. So today we've had enough. We've seen it one too many times. We blocked him, we kicked him out, and now we are making an example out of him with our topic. So okay, the subject today on Not the Smartest Guys in the Room, If you did not, oh man, now I got to go over this again because Dr. Tachi and Julie would have appreciated it. So this is not, I have to do it. Okay, we're talking today on Not the Smartest Guys in the Room. Are you copying or are you being inspired? But we got sidebarred for now 7 minutes because this guy that's come through the room a couple times jumped in 2 seconds into the room and pitched us for $50 he could make us 4,000, dipped out of the room like he usually does, jumped back in and dipped out again. So we're all wound up today. So the subject is, are you copying or are you inspired? So here's what I was thinking about on this one today. I hear Quentin Tarantino in an interview, and he says, "I've copied from every movie ever made." And he can show you, they'll show you a scene at a table, and he's like, "Got this from this movie." Shows you somebody walking in, and he shows you the way the camera hits the traffic, and he says, "Got this from this movie." From like 1920s on, he'll go frame by frame. I was inspired by, but he says copy. So are you? But now I would consider Quentin Tarantino a genius. He's super talented. His movies are completely original to me. And here's a guy saying he's copying. So where's this line? Because I read stuff that is copied. Every day I'm reading, and I read stuff that's copied. And I'm like, this is not this person's voice. It is annoying to me. I see that this is what somebody else did. I don't even want to look at it anymore. Quentin Tarantino, I want more of it. I want to see what he did every time. So what's the answer here? Let's get started, Tom.
Yeah, I mean, this is a great topic. And I think, the first thing that pops into my mind is I think you sort of have to define what, we're talking about, are you copying or are you being inspired by, right? We're kind of talking about sort of plagiarism versus innovation, right? At least in my mind. And so what immediately pops to my mind or comes to the front of my mind is this idea that there is really no such thing, like there's misconstrual of what innovation means, right? A lot of people, when you say innovation, they think you've created something brand new, that every single aspect of it has never existed before in the history of the world. And I don't think that's right at all. I think what innovation really is taking things that already exist and combining them, and some portion of them already exist. Maybe you've created one aspect of it that's new or novel, right? But combining things in a novel way, right? So taking a bunch of stuff that already exists and combining it in a novel way to create something that, as a whole, has never really existed before in that form, right? That's innovation to me. And so, when you talk about like Quentin Tarantino borrowing styles of shooting and angles and particular like pieces of scenes from other films and combining them to make his films, that's innovation to me, right? He's taking things that he's seen other people do and go, oh, you know what? It'd be really interesting if we took that shot, but we did it this way, right? It'd be really interesting if we did a car chase, but we did it this way, right? So he's coming at the problem or coming at the situation from a different perspective, bringing his unique perspective to it, innovating and iterating on things that people have done in the past to create something new, right? That is innovation. And it's inspired by the work that other people have done in the past. And I think it's incredibly valuable to do. I think a lot of times, like I said, people get caught up in this idea that you have to create something brand new from nothing, right? And I'll use myself as an example. And I say this all the time, right? When I talk about my book, Legendeering, right? And that strategy that I've created, it is a unique combination of a whole bunch of existing strategies, right? Like literally going back to the 1700s, right? One of the sort of core strategies that's incorporated into legendeering is content marketing. And you know who's credited widely as being sort of the creator of content marketing as we know it? Benjamin Franklin, right? When he published the Poor Richard's Almanac in Philadelphia in the mid 1700s, right? So like that's how far back legendeering kind of goes, right? In the things that I've taken piece of and been inspired by to create this thing that I call legendeering. I don't think that I'm ripping people off, right? I don't think that I'm copying anyone. The way that I've put it together has never really existed, right? And I've actually researched it. I've looked. I tried to make sure. I wanted to be sure that I wasn't just incidentally recreating somebody else's work and calling it my own. As far as I can tell, in all the research I've done over years of looking this stuff up, it's never sort of been combined exactly the way I've combined it, right? And called what I've called it. There's other people that have done things similar, right? There are other people that are continuing to and doing things similar, but not calling it legendaring. And that's great. That's fine. But legendaring is mine in the same way that Pulp Fiction is Quentin Tarantino's, right? Or Reservoir Dogs is Quentin Tarantino's. Whether or not he borrowed or was borrowed from or was inspired by, films of the past and other sort of storytellers, visual storytellers and directors, cinematographers, etc., it's still his own because he's the only one that put it together in that way. And so that's what I think the sort of difference is, right? Copying is, literally like you go to the copy machine, you put something in and you get a duplicate out, right? Like that's copying. So if he had a scene in Pulp Fiction that was shot for shot from another film with the same dialogue, et cetera, then he's copying people, right? But if he's using a shot with his dialogue, with his actors, with his context in a different way, he's being inspired by, he's not copying. So I don't think he's ripping anybody off any more than I think I've ripped anybody off, or you've ripped or anybody that does creative work is ripping anybody off. There's this idea that there's no such thing as an original thought, right? Or like all of the good ideas have already been thought of. I don't know that I believe that, but yeah, there's nothing wrong with taking existing things, combining them in a novel way to create something new. I think that's innovation. And that is what you get when you're inspired by someone else's work.
That's a spectacular answer, Tom. Thanks for getting us started. You have me thinking on just full admission on the last book and screenplay that I worked on. I was My Name is Sharon was the last one I wrote. It was about my mom's battle with Alzheimer's. Now, the Notebook was a love story where it touches on Alzheimer's. I thought, well, what if there was a love story and the love story was between mother and son, and rather than it was a different kind of love? And so that was the thought, inspired in a sense, love story where Alzheimer's is an underlying theme. Okay, so that now, granted, it's me, my mom's story. It's 2020. It's a pandemic. Then I was also inspired at the time. This Is Us was a popular show at the time. And the way they told the story and were able to jump back in time, but continue to progress forward. I thought that was an interesting way to move a story forward, where they could take you back to when they were young and still move forward. So I tried to combine, in my mind, now, not that I did it successfully or not, but in my mind, adding my story and using these kind of formulaic approach to what I was doing. I think that was, if I had to break it down, that's how I chose to do it. All right, let's keep this going. So, Mr. Swift, when you put out a piece of content, whether it's a video you're making, a book you're writing, a speech you're giving, how do you make sure it's original to Brian Swift and you're not giving Alex Hormozi's speech or somebody else's speech? That was Swift was here and he's gone. I missed. Oh, he's there. Okay, go on, Brian. You and then Dr. Tachi.
Yeah. If I'm quoting somebody directly and using their exact words, I mean, I think you have to quote that and give it credit. But a lot of times what I try to do is, if I see something I like, try to put it into my words or add my personality onto it. I mean, to Tom's point, I believe there are things that have not been thought of and said a certain way, but I mean, there's only so many ways to say certain things. So I try to put my spin on it. I mean, unless you're just exactly quoting somebody, I try to put my personality or spin onto it. You know, I like adding that spin onto certain things, but sometimes things are just sometimes there's things out there that's like the perfect way to say it, right? I mean, you know, not that it hasn't been said before, but some of it's timing and there are ways to say things that might have your spin on them, and then there's those times when that's said perfectly and that's the way it's going to be said. So try to add your personality, your spin onto things if you want to try to be as original as you can. I'm complete.
Thank you, Mr. Swift. Nice seeing you here as always. And I believe wholeheartedly you have to add your own voice, your own personality on it, your own spin. So well said, Brian. Dr. Tachi, how are you showing up and making sure you are original in the content you put out and not a carbon copy of somebody else?
I think it's inevitable that you're going to get inspired by things. If you're human and you live in the world, you're going to see things that resonate with you and thus be inspired. And at some point, whether you intend for it to or not, it's going to be reflected in your work. In fact, when I was at New York Film Academy, I had an instructor that said, there are not really any new ideas. There's just the spin that you bring to these ideas that already exist out there, which I think in a sense is true. However, as you've said, there is a difference between being inspired by and then lifting whole pieces of things and including them in your work. I've always been a creative and always been a creative person. So in my opinion, I've never had a problem formulating ideas, or even if I get inspired by something, I'm like, ooh, I would like to include this in the work. And then here's the thing. We often get inspired by our own experiences. There are things that I've done, pieces that I've written, scripts that I've written that are based off of experiences that I've had. Does that mean that nobody else has had these experiences? No, but they haven't happened to them in the same way it happened to me, and it happened to me. So I'm coming at it with my own thought process and my own way of putting it down, right, on paper or in a computer, whatever the case may be. So I think I just show up the way I am, and what I create is based off of my experiences, things that I encounter, which are still part of our experiences, right? So I don't know if that answers the question, but that's how I ensure. I just show up as me. I'm not trying to be someone else. That's another thing. I am not intending to put my work out there in the world with the intent of trying to be the next XYZ. Because when you do that, sometimes there is that tendency to copy style and the way people do things. A good example, really quickly, there's someone I know that is, been on social media, and she keeps getting compared to Wendy Williams, right? Well, yeah, I can hear it in the voice, I can see it in the style, but there's also something different. But if she tends to lean into that whole thing in terms of not only the style kind of and the look and the topics that she chooses to do, then she becomes like Wendy Jr. and not who she is. So that's an example of that. And I'm done.
I mean, I think that's great. Dr. Tachi, one of the things that pops to my mind, just listening to what you said there at the end, is it's great to be sort of inspired by. It's actually nice when somebody says, "Oh, you remind me of so and so, a figure, somebody they like, somebody they listen to, somebody they admire." That's a great thing to hear. I think to your point, the important thing to do then is to not lose yourself in that comparison, right? To not steer too hard into that comparison, and end up in a situation where all you're doing then is emulating that person, right? Like, oh, this person like Wendy Williams, they said I remind them of Wendy Williams, and now I'm just going to try to be as Wendy Williams as I can be. Like, that's probably not the best idea. Probably the best idea is to continue being you and know that there is something sort of familiar reminiscent of Wendy Williams, that people like about you, that people might listen to you or watch you for the same reasons that they listened to or watched her. So yeah, I think it's a good point there that, comparison, those kinds of comparisons can be great if you're likened to somebody, especially if you personally admire that individual. But yeah, be wary of steering too hard into that comparison and ending up just trying to be a carbon copy of them, because you'll end up losing yourself in the process. And then ultimately people will sort of tune out or turn off or turn away if you do that, because what they were really there to take in to begin with was the unique spin that you brought to the table, the unique sort of flavor, so to speak, that you brought to the conversation. So I think that's a great point. What do you think, Dom?
I'm enjoying the conversation. It reminds me, I finished the Creative Act recently by Rick Rubin. Super creative dude. The book was completely different than I ever thought it was going to be. Almost poetic. But one of the things that he mentions is all the ideas like are out there. The words, the lines, the song. A song could become a movie. A line could become a word. A phrase could become a song. In so many ways that once the inspiration's out there, how you use it, you could use it a million different ways. I have this one line. I'm not even giving it because I don't want you guys stealing it from me. But I keep this one line in my head, and I wrote whole screenplays around one line because I think at the end of the day, it's about this thing. And so it's one line that inspires me to, and so I could take a line that Brian says and maybe take that line and write a whole book on it, in a different way with my own spin. So, are you copying or are you inspired by? We got Julie here, Kevin, Jimmy's here, Dave's in the house from Canada. So we got a lot of people here today, people watching. Where's everybody watching before we get to Julie and Dave? Tom, you're best at that. How do we stream this show?
Well, anybody and everybody who wants to watch, which I hope is many folks over the time that this lives on the internet, which is, once it's on the internet, it's forever, right? So the internet is forever, as people often say. But yeah, we're streaming all over the internet. We're streaming on YouTube. We're streaming on Facebook. We're streaming on LinkedIn. We're streaming on Twitch. And of course, we're here hosting on Clubhouse. That's where the room is. That's how we get people up on stage with us to engage in the conversation and be a part of this show. But yeah, we're hosting on Clubhouse. That's the platform we use, and then we're broadcasting all over the internet. So and like I said, once it's on the internet is forever. So if you miss it live, you can always catch it on a rerun.
Okay, well done, Tom. The internet is forever. That's what we learned today. Okay, we are going to Julie. Julie sent me a text that says she's muted, so we're going to ask her this question. How do you make sure you're inspired by and not copying? Julie, we'll see if we can unmute you. You able to unmute Julie, Tom? You can do that sometimes if she can't do it.
I don't have the option to unmute her. I can mute her if she were unmuted, but I cannot unmute her.
Okay, Julie, give it a try. Oh, she can't even read what's in the chat. Okay, something must be going on with her stuff. Leave the room and come back, Julie. We need you. Okay, Kevin, what say you on the subject? Kevin was here. Hopefully he's not having trouble.
Yeah, no, I can unmute. All right. I thought I was no, Julie's back. Let's let her go.
That was so weird.
And polite to Kevin. That's all right. Julie, you're here.
Kevin, I don't want to interrupt you. That was so strange. It said I couldn't speak or even write in the chat. So sorry about that. Never seen that before. So I would say that there is no such thing as an original idea. And the way to inspire, in my mind, is to connect different elements to become a creative, meaning, so we can get inspired by Gary Vaynerchuk or Quentin Tarantino. However, what Tom kind of explained, Quentin Tarantino, he's connecting different ideas and thoughts to create something new. And that's where I see the power in and understanding different patterns, number one, and also understanding, having a real deep knowledge of things that are missing and being able to fill that gap by creating this process of connection. I don't know if that made sense, but that's just what came to mind. Thanks for letting me speak.
Julie, that was deep. Well done. We appreciate you. All right, let's keep it rolling. Okay, Kevin, what do you got for us, man? You here, you're gone now. What do you got? We need you.
Okay, now being the sixth person to talk about this, yes, it sounds like there's nothing left to say on this because it's been said many, many ways, but I'm going to try and say it yet again, basically giving the example of what we're talking about. When I think of my inspirations growing up as a kid, way back in the day, there was someone on television named Phil Donahue. And he did something I think that no one else had done before, like going into the audience with a microphone and having a topic and having someone on the stage and putting microphones in the faces of people in the audience and having them talk directly to the people that were on stage on the topic or ask questions of celebrities directly. And no one had done that before. And then someone called Oprah came along and people thought that she was copying him because she was doing the same thing he was doing. She was in the audience. She had a microphone and she was pointing it into the faces of the people in the audience and letting them speak directly to the people on the stage. But she took that genre so far. And now when people hear the name Oprah Winfrey, they don't even think of Phil Donahue. They don't even know there was a Phil Donahue because she took it in such a different direction. She took it so much further. She took the ball and she just kept on running with the ball or baton. She ran further, faster than anybody thought was possible with that genre. And speaking of genre, it's the same thing as music. There are many different country artists. There's many different hip hop artists. Because you're in the same genre doesn't mean you're doing the exact same thing. I'm going to basically, strum on a guitar. You're going to strum on a guitar, but you're going to say different things. I'm going to say different things. And like Tachi said, we've all lived our own lives and we may have epiphanies, but the idea that walking on this planet, living our lives, loving, dealing with loss, basically the human experience, we're probably going to have the same epiphany that somebody had 300 years ago about what life means and what's really important. And so the difference is how we communicate that epiphany. And the fact is, we're all different people. And my description of my epiphany about loss and how we should deal with it may be the same epiphany that Dr. Tachi had. But the way I describe that epiphany and how to use that epiphany in life may reach one person. They may be able to hear that. Much like how dogs can hear things that we can't hear, I may be able to hear something or communicate something in a way that one person may hear that same epiphany that Dr. Tachi had, and vice versa. Somebody may hear my description of that epiphany and like it doesn't resonate with them. But the frequency that she delivers that epiphany will ring in someone else's ear and touch their heart and move them and change the direction they move in completely differently than what I'm able to put forward. And when it comes to the idea of people just kind of copying, because I do feel like there are people that are just cut and pasting. If you listen to any kind of influencer content, is it just me or is everybody obsessed with everything? I'm obsessed with this matcha recipe. I'm obsessed with this new couch cushion. I'm obsessed with this new movie. I'm obsessed with this new show. Everybody's obsessed. I don't know who was the first person to be obsessed with stuff in social media, but you have made a profound a profound inspiration to many, many people because everybody is now obsessed with everything. So thank you for putting that in. I thank you or curse you for putting that into the world.
Kevin, good stuff, man. You came out on fire. Go on, Tom. What do you got?
Thanks, Kevin. Yeah, you know what came to mind when you're talking about Oprah there and the sort of the progression of the sort of the talk show in the 80s and early 90s, right? The late 80s, early 90s was when that genre really kind of exploded. And when Oprah really rose to preeminence within that genre. And a lot of people, accused her of copying or being a ripoff of, Phil Donahue and some of the other early talk show hosts. It made me think of, I've seen this interview of Ed Sheeran with Howard Stern, right? And they're talking about the copyright case, the very, very public, famous copyright case, where Ed Sheeran was sued by the family of Marvin Gaye, or the family of the late the show or the song's co-writer, Ed Townsend. His family sued him for copyright infringement from the song "Let's Get It On," right? And he ended up winning that case.
Was that Robin Thicke? I thought Robin Thicke got sued by the about that song.
Might have also, but it definitely Ed Sheeran got sued by them. And the interview that specifically that I'm referencing was when he was on Howard Stern's show, and he talked about kind of how they demonstrated live in court. Ed Sheeran actually played guitar and sang on the witness stand to demonstrate that 4-chord progression that they were claiming he stole as copyrighted work from Let's Get It On, that 4-chord progression is used all across different songs and genres of music. And he literally played a melody of different songs using that same 4-chord progression to demonstrate that it's used all over the place and that it's just part of the building blocks of music, right? And that you can't copyright the building blocks of music, right? Like if that'd be like claiming that if a famous architect built a house out of wood and then someone else built a house out of wood, that'd be like claiming you stole the architect's design because you built a house out of wood also. It's like, well, every house, like most houses, are built out of wood, at least, in the sort of northeast part of the US where I live, right? Most houses are built out of wood. Like that's how we build houses around here, right? So you can't claim that you're copying someone else just because you use the same sort of materials. And I think, anyway, that just popped into my head. It's a really interesting interview. I recommend, if anybody has the time, looking it up. That interview between that Howard Stern did with Ed Sheeran. Howard Stern is obviously, I would consider him to be, and a lot of other people consider him to be, a fantastic interviewer. But he kind of got into that conversation, and Ed Sheeran actually demonstrated what he did on the stand. It was really interesting to listen to. Dr. Tachi, I saw you flash. Did you have something you wanted to add to that?
I was flashing to clap to say that. I was going to check that out. But I did think of something. So another example I thought of, I listened to, and I may have said this before, years ago, I was listening to I think it may have been NPR, an interview that was being done with Dee Snider. And Dee Snider is the lead singer from Twisted Sister. And Dee Snider went to Catholic school his entire life. So he said in the song, "We're Not Going to Take It," it was inspired by "Oh Come All You Faithful." And so I sat there and I said, oh my gosh, "We're Not Going to Take It" is "Oh Come All You Faithful." So you never know what experiences you have that are going to color the work and such that you produce. So I just want to say that.
Love it. Love it. Thanks.
That's good. That's good stuff. I wanted to mention in the book Save the Cat, they talk about give me the same thing but different in writing. It's basically considered like a Bible to writing and screenplays and stuff. But you could take any movie, like if I said to you Abbott and Costello, Laurel and Hardy, I could say Tommy Boy was a buddy comedy about cells. Then I could say, well, let's do another buddy comedy. Let's make it Beverly Hills Cop. Let's make it Will Ferrell and Kevin Hart going to jail. Let's make it The Rock and Kevin Hart as policemen. Let's make it A Woman and a Man. How about we make the buddies blind and deaf, and it's see no evil, hear no evil. You can make the buddies. I have two buddies, a million different ways. I could make it Shaun of the Dead. Two buddies, now add zombies to it. It's the same concept. You're just in one, they made them blind and deaf. In the other, they made them zombies. It's the two interaction. So I go out and bike and hike with my friend Dave. We go out on the trails and bike and hike, and we goof around, we screw around, we argue. It's the same thing that's been done 100 different times, but just a different way, a new spin on. It's buddies. It's two buddies hanging out, having a good time, So, okay, Tom, it is that time of the show. Everybody get ready. It is it is that time for Tom's Thumbs. Are you ready for Tom's Thumbs? This is where we talk about pop culture, and Tom has to give us a thumbs up or thumbs down about something going on. So today, Tom, I'm proud of this one. What do you think about Bill Belichick and his new girlfriend?
I'd have to give it a thumbs down. It is a weird situation, right? Like really weird. I forget who it was. I mean, and anybody who listens or anybody who's here often knows that I'm not, I like sports. I enjoy sports, but I'm not a sports fan. I don't follow sports in the way a lot of people do, right? And especially not the New England Patriots, because I'm a New Yorker and born and raised a Giants fan, right? So which has been tough for the last 10 years or so. But yeah, I obviously not a fan of Bill Belichick, generally speaking, because of his coaching at the Patriots, and also because of some, seemingly credible accusations of cheating over the years as the head coach of the Patriots. And I think they actually got in trouble one time for filming somebody else's practice or something like that. Anyway, that's all kind of besides the point. I will kind of try to get myself back on track here, talking about his relationship with his 20-something. I forget how old she is, but like, I don't even think, I think like mid-20s at the oldest. Like I feel like she's like 24 or something like that. And he's in like his 70s. Oh, 34. I thought she was in her 20s.
No, sorry, that was a typo. She is 24.
Okay. Yeah. So 24-year-old. So this guy in his like mid to late 70s
he's 72.
Okay.
Are you guys saying he's not a hunk? Go on, Tom.
Okay. All right. So here we go. Now that I got the information, let me trudge forward with this. I swear I'll get to a thumbs up or a thumbs down. All right. So Bill Belichick and his girlfriend situation is just weird to me. I mean, first of all, the age gap doesn't make any sense to me, right? She's 24, he's 72. That's too big an age gap, I think, right? I mean, we're talking 48 years difference in age. That is too much, I think, right? Too much to be reasonable. It's weird. But then what's extra weird about it, what's super weird about it, is the seeming level of control that she has over what he says, when he says it, and who he says it to. Like the way in which she has him wrapped up and kind of controlled is really bizarre to me. Like I saw an excerpt from an interview. I didn't see the whole interview, but there's an excerpt from an interview, and the interviewer asks Belichick about how he and his girlfriend met, and off camera, the girlfriend who is in the room says, "We're not going to talk about that." And Bill Belichick, this very accomplished guy who's 72 years old, just looks at the interviewer and kind of goes, "Well, I guess we're not talking about it," right? As if that's a completely normal and reasonable thing to have happen. It is weird. It is bizarre. It is strange. It doesn't make any sense. There's something extra going on there that we are not privy to. And I just think it's honestly, I also think the age gap is kind of a little bit gross. Personally, like other people could argue that age is just a number or whatever, but like the gap in maturity between a 24-year-old and a 72-year-old is just, it's weird. It's kind of a little bit gross. I'm looking at it, as a father with a daughter. Like, would I be happy if my daughter, when she's 24, started dating a 72-year-old? Probably not so much. So yeah, it's weird. It's a little bit creepy. It's a little bit gross. and the level of control that she exercises over him and what he's allowed to say and when he's allowed to say it and who he's allowed to say it to is just really strange. And so for all of those, I think there's something weird going on there. There's something unhealthy, it feels like, going on there to me. And so for all of those reasons, I give that celebrity pairing or relationship a thumbs down. It's weird. It's weird. It's weird. Weird relationships get a thumbs down from me. Because it's weird in an unhealthy way, I think. I don't think it's weird in like a fun, quirky way, right? It's weird in like kind of a creepy, gross, unhealthy way. So yeah, thumbs down.
All right, a hard stance. We don't even know that girl's name. So a thumbs down on Bill Belichick and his girlfriend. Fabian says he has a theory. If he wants to come up and tell us a theory, go on, Fabian, go on. We're talking about, okay, he says he's coming up. Okay, invited as a speaker. All right, we're talking about, are you copying? Are you inspired by? We get sidebarred, but Tom's thumbs isn't sidebarred. Tom's thumbs is vital. So Fabian, give us a quick take here on your thoughts on your theory. Go on.
Okay, great to be in this room. You ever see where somebody's telling somebody if you're being held hostage to blink 5 times or something like that? This, to me, seems like a hostage situation. This seems like this young lady has the goods on him, whether it's photographs or something. But for this control freak of a coach and considered the greatest NFL coach ever to be acting this way is so out of character. It's not even funny. So that is my theory, unfounded as it is. But I think that she has some goods on him, and that's it.
Okay, that was a good take, strong take here, man. Okay, come on, we're gonna keep it going. Kevin, you got your hand raised or high five. So quick take, make it quick, man.
Okay, I just wanted to say what's interesting that you guys think it's like a hostage situation. I think it's a situation where a 72-year-old man has a hot 24-year-old girlfriend and he wants to keep her. Yes, he has money and he has fame, but she can basically take that hotness and get somebody who's younger and has fame and money. So he wants to keep her happy. So an interviewer says, "So how'd you meet?" And she says, "Yeah, I don't want you discussing that." Yeah, he's going to go back home to bed with his 24-year-old girlfriend tonight, not the interviewer. So yeah, if she doesn't want him discussing how they met publicly, then he's not going to do it because he wants to keep sleeping with the 24-year-old. I think it's pretty simple.
Yeah, you put 2 and 2 together there, I think. Okay, are you copying or inspired by? Dr. Tachi's got the big eyes. Dr. Tachi, you think it's something different? What do you think? Go on, you commented down below. You got an answer?
No, I don't have a thought. Actually, I don't give a damn.
There we go. Okay, we're moving on then. We are done. Bill Belichick is done. Okay, Tom thumbs up. Are you copying it? Are you inspired by? You're putting out content. Does it, like sometimes, like I said, it was charming when I watch a Quentin Tarantino movie and I hear him say, I reference this, I use this, I use that. I'm like, amazing. And then some people I watch on social media, like Dr. Tachi mentioned, that if somebody's trying to do Wendy Williams, like trying to emulate them, like sometimes you'll see, oh, they're just doing them, and you're like, oh, it is them. I had a friend one time that all of a sudden started putting out, he had put out no content whatsoever. And then he started making these highly developed videos with like a whole crew of people following him around while he talked business. And the guy was super successful and had means to have people follow him around. And he'd be like in China eating with chopsticks and he'd just talk some business. And it was so clear he was trying to do, like, it's him getting off the plane. And there's a like, they put up a drone of him walking off on the tarmac and stuff. And it was a Gary Vee video. And the guy only did 3 of them. But the point of his video was for him to be Gary Vee. I'm like, I don't get it, man. Like, where are you going here? To me, Tom, it was a complete copy, not something original. So I did not resonate with that. So your thoughts, and then let's get to Jason and Fabian on this.
Yeah, and I think what you're hitting on there, Tom, is that it lacked authenticity, right? Like you're talking about somebody, right? And so it's a little bit different with that perspective in, when compared to someone who you only know kind of through the internet or through the content that they put out. But I think that what you're hitting on and what you picked up on is that it didn't feel like him. It didn't feel authentic to him. It felt like he was trying to be Gary V, right? Gary V works because Gary V is kind of a maniac, and he's all over the map, and he's manic and hyper and talks really fast and is really energetic, and that's just who he is, or at least the persona that he has consistently adopted for the entire time that he's been in front of a camera. So it works because that's what you expect, right? But when you get somebody who just shows up and tries to be like that, but isn't like that in other places or as consistently, it rings hollow, and that inauthenticity, really is easily identifiable by the audience, and it leaves them kind of going, meh, he's sort of like a weak Gary V, so I'm over it, right? Not interested, right? It's sort of like going to karaoke. Like, you go to karaoke and you hear somebody sing a song really well, you might be impressed in the moment, be like, wow, they really nailed that song. But you're not going to go watch them in concert like you would the real artist, right? The person who wrote and sang that song to begin with, right? It's not a good substitute. One's an imitation, right? And one's the real thing. And you always want the real thing. Everybody always wants the real thing. They don't want the imitation. So that's what I think happened there. But anyway, I think, let's move on to who's up next, Jason?
Yeah, we got Jason. So Jason, we're talking about copying or inspired by. So when you see something that's a copy or you read something that's a copy, does it turn you off, or you're like, oh, I get this, I see what they're doing here, or is there a line where you're like, this is pretty good, or I'm out?
It really depends. I mean, say like there's music that you guys were just talking about. Let's say you go see a cover band and the artist is no longer around. Say like Pink Floyd. Let's just take them for an example. And some people love the sound of Pink Floyd, but the band no longer gets together. You can go have an enjoyable experience in a live setting, right? And maybe people are attached to having the original, but then you got like for example, Journey right now with Leon Pineda, who sounds a lot like Steve Perry, and people say, "Oh man, he's not like Steve. They're just trying to keep old guys together, and that's most the original band." And I'm like, "Oh, well, who's in charge of the experience? Yourself. I don't care whether you copy somebody or not, because how many people have written self-help books, sad stories, the hero's journey, and written over and over, and it's like you could predict the end pretty much. But it doesn't mean that it doesn't have meaning or it doesn't have significance to you. It just means that where you're at in that place and time, can you appreciate the experience? There's plenty of guys out there that had the Hard Knocks life story, right? But they made something of themselves. We should not just be so quick to judge, but some things you just can't beat the original. It's like, what do you want out of it? That's what I think. What do you want out of the experience? So whether like my story, what I'm working on right now, many guys have done the same shit that I have. I'm not worried about copying anyone else. But if you take elements that have worked for somebody else and then you add it into your own chemistry and your own concoction, then you're good. So what meaning for you? Like, and I'll end with this. Rick Rubin said it best in his book called The Creative Act. He said that it doesn't matter what other people think. I just go after what I like. And whether it's copying some parts and being original in other parts, choice is yours. Either you're going to follow the sheep or you're going to be the sheep herder. You choose.
Thanks, Jason. I appreciate that. I like that. That's a great quote. Great quote there to kind of leave things. So Lauren, we're coming around to you. The question we're talking about, right, is how do you draw the line between copying and being inspired by something? And is it okay to borrow from other people's work and to use it as inspiration to create your own. What do you think?
100%. Hi, everyone. Hello. So I love it. And I was trying to go in the background, and I mean, I can call my 7-year-old to try and help me. But the guy that came out of Idols, who now goes on stage, I'm not going to say his name right, but he does the somersaults, and he does that song for his mom. Born, something like that. Someone help me.
I don't know.
Anyone?
Go on, Lauren. You got it.
No. But I'm asking you the talent, the guy that came out of Idols and then literally now does the somersaults at all of these events and sings his song.
Are you talking about Benson Boone?
That's it, Benson
Okay.
Boone. So now you look at Benson Boone, who is now doing Freddie Mercury. So he's not trying to copy. He's giving a version of it. So I think in the context of this conversation of copying or not, it's about, are you giving kudos back? Are you changing a new version? So like my son is 7. He has no clue who Freddie Mercury is. But Benson Boone is making it cool for him. So, we have to look and go, time has a space, but also time changes generations. Now my kid is seeing Benson Boone doing these things of Freddie Mercury where he wouldn't have known Freddie Mercury. And it's still freaking cool. So that's not someone copying someone else, but it is always going to be in context. And you do it right or you don't do it right. You keep the legacy or you don't keep the legacy. But right now, my kid wants to know more about Freddie Mercury because of that. And to me, that keeps the legacy alive. I hope what I'm saying hits home to some things, because I'm a big muso and I love music. And now my son gets to experience music because of this. And so that's what I wanted to bring to the front.
Cool. Well, thanks, Lauren. Appreciate that. Sounds like you got somebody at the door or something. The dog was going nuts there towards the end, but yeah, no, thanks for that. Appreciate it. And I think, yeah, I mean, Benson Boone is doing a good job of singing a bunch of Queen songs and singing Freddie Mercury's part. He's an interesting kind of character for sure, and he's also I think he embodies a little bit, like with the backflips and with the sort of sequined outfits that he wears in his concerts. He does a little bit sort of embody some of the kind of spirit and the showmanship of Freddie Mercury to some extent. So appreciate that. So we got 2 quick things to do here before we wrap up. One is Dom's show and tell. So let's start with that. Dom, what do you got to show us and tell us about this week?
Okay, I will be quick today, and I want to show you, everybody in this room, you can be great at more than one thing. You can be great at different things in different times of your life. So today I am going to show you my Deion Sanders cards. Here is Deion Sanders, a rookie card where he is playing football. Deion, if you don't know, they call him prime time. Here's Deion Sanders, an upper deck card where he is playing baseball. Deion Sanders played 2 different sports professionally. He didn't just focus on one. He was actually great at both. He made the major leagues in both. And you can say what great is. Well, he made the major leagues and had big time stats in both of those. So he was great. Now, also Deion is a coach later in life that wins a lot of games. His teams have won over and over again. and he was pretty good in the media too. So you don't have to focus on one thing. You can focus on multiple things. You can be great at many things in your life. So don't give up. It's never too late to start something new. Here are 2 of my Deion Sanders cards. That's what you got, Tom.
Yeah, well, and I think, it's one of those things too. I think there's the what you ended up with Deion Sanders there, right, is somebody who had extraordinary athletic ability in places where that extraordinary athletic ability translated across from between different sports, right? And you see that a lot with like really high achieving athletes tend to be good at other sports or better than the average people, and sometimes good enough to be professionals in multiple sports, multiple disciplines, because of that extraordinary athletic ability. And I think that same thing can be true in different disciplines, right? So could be true in a creative discipline like writing. Somebody could be an incredibly accomplished or talented author. And they may also turn out to be really good at writing comedy, right? Or writing, dialogue for a drama or a series, right? And that writing, that skill set translates because maybe their real skill set is in creating interesting dialogue or writing interesting dialogue, right? So maybe their books are really heavy on dialogue, and so they're also, subsequently really good at writing films or television series or something like that. So it's like, I think that's a good example of understanding that while you may be skilled in one particular area, there's a good likelihood or a decent likelihood that some of those underlying skill sets translate across mediums, right, or across disciplines, and that you can take some of those skills and apply them to other things that you do, and also achieve highly or be really good at those things, right? I think for Deion Sanders, right, it was his speed and his coordination, in both of his disciplines, in baseball and in football, that really made him a great player. That, and then ultimately, I think one of the things that separates most high achieving athletes from recreational athletes or people that don't make it to the pros is just their ability and their willingness to push themselves harder than other people are willing to. It's a weird thing to brag about, but they're just willing to suffer more, right? Is kind of the easiest way to put it. At least that's the way it is in endurance sports. And the sports that I'm spending a lot of time involved with or participating in or paying attention to is the besides the athletic ability, right, and the work that they put in. I think the other thing that separates the pros really is their ability to just suffer more. To just say, well, it's gonna be rough now, but I'm willing to do it so that I can achieve highly later. It's a unique skill set or an interesting skill set. But I think at the end of the day, across media, or across discipline, if you're just willing to put in the work, you're going to do pretty well. And obviously, Deion was willing to put in the work. Batting practice, football practice, right? It makes improvement. So
practice makes perfect. That's right. Not the smartest guys in the room. Before we go today, Tom, you can just do your wrap up all about Bill Belichick or Deion or copying or inspired by. What do you got for us?
Yeah, I don't know. I think to close the loop on Bill Belichick and his relationship with his 24-year-old girlfriend, I'll just say this. I think there's probably a little bit of everything going on in there that people were postulating. I don't know that I would offer a concrete theory myself, but to Kevin's point, for sure, he wants to. He's a 72-year-old guy, and at the end of the day, he's a straight man. And he probably wants to go home with his 24-year-old girlfriend, who's a very attractive woman. So I think he's got a point. I also think that there might be something weird going on where I don't think she's got like dirt on him per se, but she's exercising a level of control that is odd or strange to me. The way that he just doesn't push back at all, that he is seemingly fine with her correcting him in public on camera to other people seems a little bit odd to me, and a little bit more going on there in terms of like their interpersonal relationship, other than just he wants to go home with a 24-year-old at the end of the day. So I don't know what else is going on there, but I'll just say this: it's weird. I don't like it, and it still gets a thumbs down. So I'll leave Bill Belichick there, and then as far as copying versus inspiration goes, I think, look, if you're going to quote somebody or if you're going to copy somebody, to Brian Swift's point from earlier, yeah, like there's nothing wrong with quoting people or citing other people's work or using other pieces of other people's work, so long as you give attribution, right? So like if you're gonna quote somebody or you're gonna use an excerpt from somebody's book or whatever the case is, right, in your own work, give attribution, right? Make sure that you cite your sources. Make sure that people know that you are not trying to take credit for that, that you are giving credit where credit is due. You are citing other people's work. There's nothing wrong with that. Totally okay. Do it, right? And then on the other side of things, from the sort of Quentin Tarantino perspective, and my kind of take on innovation, I would just say this: like, look around you. Every day I see things that inspire me to think about things a certain way, to create things a certain way, to that I can incorporate into the work that I do. And one of the things that I do all the time, this is just a little tip that I'll throw out for anybody listening. One of the things I do all the time is I use AI as an iterative engine. Right. So all the time I will go into an AI, pick whatever large language model you like to use. It doesn't really matter. I will go into an AI platform and I will say, give me 10 titles for this social media post, right? Or for this article that I've written. And I will ask it to give me a bunch of titles. And I won't grab one of those titles verbatim, right? But I will read through those titles, and inevitably there will be a combination of words or a word that I hadn't thought of using that will trigger some inspiration for me. And I'll go, oh, you know what? I like that word. I like that word. I like that word. What if I put these words together and add this word, this other word that ChatGPT didn't think of, and boom, now I've got my title, right? So I will use it as an iterative engine to spur inspiration, to kind of accelerate inspiration, so that I can get things done a little bit more quickly and a little bit more efficiently than if I was sitting there trying to doodle on a piece of paper and come up with word combinations on my own. So there's just a quick little tip for folks. If you want to use AI in your day-to-day for inspiration, use it as an iterative engine. Ask it to give you options for different ways to say things or different ways to title things, etc. And it's a great way to use AI to sort of further and expedite the day-to-day work that you do, and to continue being creative and to use it to find inspiration. So that's all I got for everybody this week. I hope you guys enjoyed this iteration of Not the Smartest Guys in the Room. We appreciate you guys being here. You guys are the reason, again, always the reason why we do this, why Dom and I are here every Wednesday at 9:30 a.m. Eastern time, working hard to not be the smartest guys in the room. So thank you for being a part of the conversation. Thank you to everybody who's here. Thank you to everybody watching. We appreciate all of you. You guys are the reason for this, and we can't wait to see you again next Wednesday at 9:30 a.m. right here on Not the Smartest Guys in the Room. Until then, have a great rest of your week. Have a great weekend. We love you guys. Bye-bye.